There are people watching this video right now who carry something inside them that they have never been told about. Something that was passed down through generations without a word being spoken. Something that was hidden, sometimes deliberately, sometimes accidentally, by families who had their reasons for keeping it quiet. I am talking about blood. Native blood. The blood of the first people who walked this land before it had a name. And that blood does not disappear just because a family stops talking about it. It does not vanish because a last name was changed, or a story was buried, or a great-grandmother's truth was swallowed by a century of silence. Blood remembers what families forget. And if you carry even a trace of it, even a thread so thin that no family tree will confirm it, that thread is alive in you right now, pulling at you, shaping you, making you feel things that the people around you do not feel, and drawing you toward things that the people around you do not understand. And today, I am going to give you 5 signs, 5 things that happen to people who carry native blood, whether they know it or not. And I want you to listen carefully because some of you are going to recognize yourself in every single one. And when you do, you will understand something about yourself that you have been trying to explain your entire life. Before I give you the 5 signs, I want to explain why so many people carry native blood without knowing it. Because the hiding was real. It happened in every generation for different reasons. In the early days, it was survival. If your ancestor was native and married into a white family, the native identity was often erased on purpose. Not out of shame, out of protection, because being visibly native in certain parts of this country at certain times meant danger. It meant your children could be taken. It meant your land could be seized. It meant your family could be targeted. And so the native grandmother would tell her daughter, "Don't tell anyone. Let them think you are something else. Keep the blood quiet. Keep the children safe." And the daughter obeyed. And she told her children nothing. And those children told their children nothing. And within 3 generations, the blood was still flowing, but the story was gone. The family Bible might have a name scratched out. The old photographs might show a face with features nobody talks about. The family might have a recipe or a tradition or a habit that came from somewhere nobody can trace, but the word native was never spoken. And so, the blood travels in silence through bodies that don't know they are carrying it into people who feel something stirring inside them that they cannot name. That stirring is the blood remembering what the mouth was told to forget. The first sign that you carry native blood is that you have always felt a pull toward the land that you cannot explain. Not a casual enjoyment of nature, not a preference for hiking over shopping, something deeper, something physical. When you stand on open land, something in your chest opens. When you walk into a forest, your breathing changes. When you are near water, a river, a lake, an ocean, something inside you settles in a way that it never settles indoors. You have felt this your entire life. Other people enjoy the outdoors. You need it the way you need air. And when you are away from it for too long, when the concrete and the walls and the screens surround you without a break, something inside you begins to ache. Not your body, something behind your body, something older than your body. That ache is the blood calling you back to the land that your ancestors knew by name. Every hill, every river, every stand of trees, they walked it. They lived on it. They are buried in it. And your blood, carrying their memory like a river carries sediment, pulls you toward the earth because the earth is where your people began and where they always returned. My grandmother said the land recognizes its own. She said when a person with native blood stands on the earth knows, not metaphorically, literally. She said the ground feels different under your feet when you belong to it, and the people who don't have the blood, they enjoy the view, but the people who carry the blood, they feel the conversation. The land is talking to them, and they are listening even if they don't know it. If you have ever stood somewhere wild and felt that the place was speaking to you, not in words, in feeling, that is the first sign. The land recognized you because your blood told it you were home. The second sign is that you feel things far more deeply than the people around you. You always have, since childhood. You feel other people's pain as if it were happening to you. You walk into a room and you can sense the energy before a word is spoken. You know when someone is lying before they finish the sentence. You carry the emotions of the people you love inside your own body, sometimes so heavily that you cannot tell the difference between your feelings and theirs. People have called you too sensitive your entire life, too emotional, too intense, too much. And you have tried to tone it down, you have tried to feel less, but you can't, because what you are carrying is not a personality trait, it is an inheritance. My people were taught that feeling deeply is not a weakness, it is a responsibility. The person who feels deeply is the one who can sense danger before it arrives, the one who can read a stranger's intentions without being told, the one who knows when the weather is about to change, and when a relationship is about to break, and when something is wrong, even though everyone else says everything is fine. That depth of feeling was not random in my culture. It was recognized. The child who cried when animals were hurt was not told to toughen up. That child was watched, observed, because the elders knew that the sensitive child was carrying a gift that came from the blood, the ability to feel what the air itself was feeling, the ability to sense what was coming before it arrived. That child would often grow into the healer, the medicine person, the one the community came to when something was wrong and nobody could explain what it was, because that person could feel the answer. Not think it, feel it, in their chest, in their stomach, in the tightness behind their eyes. Their body was the instrument, and the blood was the music running through it. I want to tell you about a man I knew who carried this sign his entire life. He worked in a factory for 30 years, a hard man by all appearances, big hands, quiet voice, the kind of man nobody would call sensitive. But this man could walk into his house after work and know, before his wife said a single word, whether she had been crying that day. He could feel it in the air. He could look at his children at the dinner table and know which one was carrying a secret. He could shake a stranger's hand and feel, in his own palm, whether the stranger meant well or didn't. And he spent his whole life thinking he was strange, thinking there was something wrong with his wiring, too aware, too tuned in, too able to feel what wasn't being said. He told me once that he wished he could turn it off. And I told him what my grandmother would have told him. That is not a curse. That is the old blood doing what it was designed to do. You are feeling the world the way your ancestors felt it, before words, before language, when feeling was the first technology and it kept people alive. Before I share the next teaching, I need to tell you something. I am not going to be here forever. And most of what I know was never written anywhere. So I sat down and I wrote it. All of it. 20 teachings, 4 parts, in the order they were meant to be received. The ones about understanding what lives inside you. The ones about honoring what your blood is trying to tell you. The ones I have never said on camera. It is called The Native Way, and it costs less than one dinner you will not remember. Scan the code on your screen or look in the comments, but do not leave yet, because the next 3 signs are the ones that people tell me made them finally understand why they have always felt different from everyone around them. The third sign is that you have always felt like you do not fully belong in the modern world. Something about the way people live is never sat right with you. The hurry, the noise, the obsession with buying things and displaying things and competing over things that will not matter in 10 years. You have watched the world chase money and status and attention, and something inside you has always whispered, "This is not real. This is not what matters. This is not what life is for." And you could never explain that feeling to the people around you because they seemed perfectly content in the race. They seemed to accept the rules of the modern world without questioning them. but you questioned them from the beginning. You looked at the way people treated the earth, and something inside you hurt. You looked at the way people treated each other, and something inside you recoiled. You looked at the pace of modern life, and something inside you said, "We were not built for this." That feeling, that persistent sense of being out of step with the world, is not anxiety. It is not depression. It is not a personality flaw. It is your blood remembering a different way of living, a slower way, a quieter way, a way that was connected to the earth and to each other in a manner that the modern world has forgotten. Your discomfort with the modern world is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is a sign that something is right with you. Something very old and very wise that refuses to be silenced by the noise. I knew a woman who told me she had felt out of place her entire life. 67 years of feeling like she was born into the wrong world. She loved silence when everyone around her loved noise. She loved the woods when everyone around her loved the mall. She grieved for animals in a way that people thought was excessive. She felt the seasons change in her body before the calendar confirmed it. And she spent her whole life thinking something was wrong with her. Too sensitive, too strange, too disconnected from what everyone else seemed to enjoy. And then she did a genealogy test. And there it was, native blood, a great-great-grandmother from a tribe she had never heard of. A woman whose name had been lost, but whose blood had been traveling through 4 generations, quietly, invisibly, shaping every feeling this woman ever had. And when she saw the results, she did not feel surprised. She felt relief. Finally, an explanation for a lifetime of not fitting in. She told me it wasn't that I didn't belong in the world. It was that I belonged to an older one, and I was living in the wrong one the whole time. The 4th sign is that you have vivid dreams that feel more like memories than imagination. Not nightmares, not random dream clutter, specific, detailed, emotionally loaded dreams that take place in landscapes you have never visited, among people you have never met, in a time that does not feel like your own. Some people dream about the future. People with native blood often dream about the past. The dreams feel ancestral. They feel inherited, as if someone is showing you something while you sleep. You might dream of open plains you have never seen, of fires surrounded by faces you don't recognize but feel connected to, of ceremonies you have never witnessed but that feel familiar in your bones, of a woman old and quiet who appears in your dreams over and over and never speaks, but whose presence feels like home. My grandmother told me that dreams are the ancestors' way of visiting. She said when you sleep, the wall between now and before gets thin, and the people who came before you, the ones whose blood you carry, they walk through that thin wall and they sit with you. They show you things. They remind you of things your waking mind has forgotten, but your sleeping mind still holds. If your dreams feel like more than dreams, if they carry a weight and a specificity that random imagination cannot explain, that is the blood remembering while your mind is quiet enough to receive it. I want to tell you about a woman who came to me with a dream that had been repeating for 30 years. The same dream. She was walking along a river she had never seen in waking life. The water was dark and moving fast. On the other side of the river was a woman sitting on the ground weaving something with her hands. The woman never looked up. She just wove. And the dreamer stood on her side of the river wanting to cross, but the water was too deep. And she woke up every time with tears on her face and a feeling of homesickness so intense that it lasted the entire day. 30 years of this dream. She told therapists. She told friends. Nobody could explain it. And then she started researching her family history, and she found something buried 4 generations back. A great-great-grandmother, native from a river tribe. A woman who was known in her community for her weaving. The dreamer had never been told this woman's name, had never seen a photograph, had never been told a single thing about her. But the blood knew, and the blood had been sending the dream for 30 years, trying to introduce them, trying to say, "This is where you come from. This woman on the other side of the river, the one you cannot reach, she is you. She has been waiting for you to find her. And when the dreamer finally understood the dream, it stopped. After 30 years, it stopped because the message had finally been received. The blood had completed the delivery, and the woman wept for a week, not from sadness, from reunion. She had met someone she had always known, but never been introduced to, her own ancestor in a dream over a river. For 30 years, the fifth sign is that you have always been drawn to fire, not in a destructive way, in a sacred way. There is something about flame that does something to your spirit that nothing else does. You can sit by a campfire or even a candle and feel a peace that you cannot find anywhere else. The flames do not just warm your body, they quiet your mind. You can stare into a fire for an hour and it feels like 5 minutes. You can watch the wood burn and the sparks rise, and something inside you shifts into a gear that the modern world does not have a name for. A gear that is older than language, older than thought. A gear that is pure presence, pure now. And in that gear, the worries fall away and the noise disappears, and you are just there, just alive. Just a person sitting near a fire the way your ancestors sat near fires for 10,000 years. That pull toward fire is not a preference. It is a homecoming. Fire was the center of native life, the place where decisions were made and stories were told and food was shared and prayers were offered. Fire was the heart of the community. And when you sit near one and feel that deep, unexplainable peace, your blood is taking you home to a hearth that has been burning for longer than any nation has existed. I have watched people who carry this sign sit near a fire and transform. I mean, physically transform. Snorts. Their face changes. Their shoulders drop. Their breathing deepens. The tension they carry in their body, the tension of living in a world that moves too fast and demands too much, all of it melts in the presence of flame. And they don't know why. They just know that fire does something to them that nothing else on earth can do. I watched a man sit at a campfire once who had not relaxed in what looked like years. Hard jaw, tight shoulders, eyes that scanned the room the way a soldier scans a perimeter. And within 20 minutes of sitting near the fire, his face softened. His hands opened. His eyes stopped scanning and started watching. Watching the flames the way you watch something sacred, something you have been looking for without knowing it. And he turned to me and said, "This is the most peaceful I have felt in I don't know how long." And I said, "That is because you are home." He didn't understand what I meant, but his blood did. My grandmother kept a fire burning every evening of her life, even in summer, even when the house was warm. She did not need the heat. She needed the fire. She said, "Fire is the oldest technology the Creator gave us. Older than language, older than tools, older than medicine. Fire was the first gift, and when you sit near it, you are sitting near the beginning of everything. The first conversation happened by a fire. The first song was sung by a fire. The first story was told by a fire. The first prayer was offered by a fire. And when you feel that pull, that magnetic draw toward flame that you cannot explain, it is because your blood remembers all of those firsts, and it wants to go back, not to a place, to a feeling. The feeling of sitting with your people around a flame and knowing that you belong. That is what the fire gives you. Not warmth, belonging. And belonging is the thing your blood has been looking for since the day the last fire in your family's line went out. I want to say something to the people who recognize themselves in all 5 signs. You are not imagining it. The pull toward the land, the depth of your feeling, the discomfort with the modern world, the ancestral dreams, the pull toward fire. If you carry all 5, something inside you already knows what I am telling you. You have always known. Not in your mind, in your body, in your chest, in the way certain sounds in certain places and certain moments make you feel something that you have never been able to explain to anyone. That unexplainable feeling is the blood speaking, and it has been speaking your whole life. You just didn't know what language it was using. Now you do. It is using the language of the first people, the language that does not need words, the language that travels through bone and breath and dream and fire and the pull of the earth beneath your feet. You carry it. Honor it. It is the oldest part of you, and it is the truest. And I want to say something to the people who recognize themselves in one or two signs, but not all five. That does not mean the blood is not there. It means the blood is quieter in you. A thinner thread, but a thread nonetheless. And a thin thread is still a connection. You do not need to be full-blooded to carry the old ways inside you. You do not need a tribal card or a family tree or a DNA test. You need only to listen to the pull, to the feeling, to the quiet voice inside you that has been saying since before you can remember, you are more than what they told you. You are older than your name. You belong to something that was here before the roads and the buildings and the borders, and that something is still here, in the land, in the fire, in the silence, and in you. If what you heard today stayed with you, the book is there. The Native Way, 20 teachings, 100 pages, written the way I would speak to you if we were sitting together. Scan the QR code on the screen with your phone or find the link in the comments. Read one chapter. Sit with it. Now I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, how many of the 5 signs did you recognize in yourself? I read every comment. And if this is the kind of conversation you have been looking for, subscribe to this channel. We are not collecting viewers here. We are collecting people who remember. Come back next week. I am not done teaching yet.